My name is Will Crump. I'm the president of DATUM LLC. We're a management consulting firm that deals with data strategy for large corporations. Data management has been gaining significant ground in terms of the mind share of corporations, partly because I think there's a legacy of organizations having failed in data management events in the past, and they didn't necessarily recognize them as data management events. They really kind of popped up as an ERP implementation that was extremely susceptible to master data. And that data was either incomplete in a migration, or they found that the users, as they went through a global process consolidation, had different interpretations of how they used that information out in the field. And the end result was that as that information came together, it couldn't support transactions, or it didn't support the analytics and visibility that the company expected to get out of their investment in the ERP environment. Or more fundamentally, it might not support the compliance issues that they had in a particular nationality. And as a result, those activities ended up, causing either transaction disruption or the inability to make decisions at the right time, or to support an audit by a regulated body or something like that. Organizations want to figure out how they can establish better operational efficiency in the future and take advantage of the information that they have today. And that value is the value that organizations typically need to be focused on. And it's a difficult financial number to put out there. Part of it has to do with what their business objectives are, but that's the area that most organizations should lean in when they're looking at putting a value on the data. Data management within organizations, we have a view that it falls within an organizational development life cycle, right? And we tend to use that framework because it meets both business and IT objectives in terms of being able to align on common terminology. And it focuses on their architectural development, their policies and procedures, their ability to execute different types of projects, and fundamentally their ability to support the business in different types of endeavors. And the different stages of the development are tribal, developmental, reactive, established, and optimized. Organizations will fall within potentially a couple of those different zones. They may be very high on the customer end and be in an established level, but in materials they may find that they're more developmental or tribal. Windshuttle has a great role to play regardless of that developmental stage that an organization's in. Organizations that find themselves in a tribal mode of activity where they really don't have any formal infrastructure, no policies and procedures around data management or anything like that, could really find Windshuttle as a key catalyst for how they would start to capture some of that knowledge and bake out processes of dealing with data management concerns, both from a forms entry activity around data governance, as well as mass updates and things like that, where they're looking at applying standards on the fly as they're starting to realize them within the organization. And any organization that's following through with those types of activities would find some value, and that would be in the developmental stage or even in a reactive stage. And then as organizations get further up that developmental curve, they'll find that those capabilities are also very, very helpful in doing either proof of concept work or decentralized data management, because not all data fields are going to be managed to the same degree. And you may find that Windshuttle is the best alternative to enable different business units that you want to provide a federated model of data management to, while you may have other infrastructure that deals with more centralized activities. There's a common misnomer that every field within the material master or within the customer master needs to be validated. And the reality is that when customers are implementing SAP or any other ERP environment, they typically only land on a certain amount of definition around what fields they're going to use and how often they're going to use them and under what context and what standards may apply against them. So the common situation that you see when people are implementing an ERP environment is that they'll do process definition documents that come down to one box that says create material or create customer or create supplier. And in what we refer to as the run optimize phase, after they've gone live with their SAP or Oracle environment or something like that, they'll go through and start to define those processes further. And they'll find through that cycle that not every field needs to be validated. Some of them you just want to monitor on the back end the risk associated with them. You might want to guide them through the same forms-based process, but it's going to take time to establish definition around each one of those fields. The higher value ones, the ones that you see greater data quality concerns around or have higher compliance issues associated with them, or you may find are a part of a critical set of reports at the analytics layer, will be the ones that you're going to want to establish the most upfront validation around as they would go through a forms-based entry cycle with WinShuttle. I think the greatest benefit that a company is really going to find through optimizing master data governance processes and practices is really flexibility. I think most often you'll find that data governance gets a bad rap because there are a lot of organizations that use audit and compliance and things like that as a real trigger. But the reality is that data governance is an opportunity to run through process optimization and figure out what are the flexible components of your organization that need to have greater agility in how they would collect and validate information. And so utilizing solutions like WinShuttle's forms to capture that type of information and enable process excellence teams to go out and work with the business to establish that type of clarity and be able to change those types of things on the fly is a great way to prove the value there.